This is example 2 for the cut extrudes and construction geometry lesson. We're going to start this example again with some base geometry. So the first step we're going to want to do is go ahead and select Save As to save a copy of this file in a new location, and browse to the location where we're saving our files. Again, renaming starting point to your own name and selecting Save. Now there's a few things we want to look at in this lesson. We're going to look at construction geometry, and we're also going to take modifying existing geometry a step farther. If we notice, we've got one sketch outside of our base geometry that is appearing to be gray on the face of our object. I don't believe we've seen a gray sketch before. What a gray sketch is a sketch that's visible, and it hasn't been hidden because it's not yet attached to a feature. So if we remember from before, we could highlight that sketch and select the Edit Sketch command. And we see we've re-entered the sketch. Just to see how somebody could have exited the sketch without creating a feature, they simply would have selected Save and Exit Sketch. Oftentimes, new users will accidentally save and exit the sketch, and they'll find themselves in a sketch and they're trying to dimension this sketch, and they're saying, I can't dimension it. I'm trying to dimension it, but I can't dimension it. And this is often because the sketch has gone gray and they've actually exited the sketch. Again, we can simply select the sketch either on the feature toolbar or in the graphical user interface and select Edit Sketch. Now in this case, we again want this circle to be centered in this rectangle, but we don't have the added feature of having the origin in the center of that rectangle, so we can't simply snap the center of the circle to the center of the rectangle. We could use a smart dimension to dimension the circle in from the edge, but that wouldn't maintain the parametrics. If we made our part bigger, the circle wouldn't stay centered within our rectangle. So we need another way of doing that. What we're going to do is use what's called a center line or a construction line. You can see that the For Construction option is selected. We're simply going to sketch from corner to corner. I'll press Escape to get out of it. Now we have a fully defined line going from corner to corner of our rectangle. This line appears similar to when we used that center rectangle, again because that is just a construction line. And now what we can do is go ahead and hold Control down, select the center of the circle and that construction line, and apply a midpoint relationship. So we have now forced that circle to stay in the center of the rectangle. And if the rectangle were to get wider, the circle would maintain its relationship in the center of this area. Now the last step will simply be dimension that circle, and that is complete. Now just so we can see the way some update errors could happen, I'm going to use a feature and a cut extrude, and instead of using through all, we're going to use a blind cut extrude that's just deep enough to make it through it. So we're just going to use that 1/4 inch blind cut extrude. And we can see in this case it's completely making it through our part. So it's done what we've asked it to do. And we'll press OK. Now before we go on too much farther, we need to apply a cut to the top of this face as well. So we'll add that sketch. Again, go normal 2. And again, we're going to make use of that center line to draw a diagonal line. And then the circle command, starting at the midpoint of that diagonal line. We'll follow that by pressing D to get the smart dimension, and we'll dimension the diameter of that circle to 0.75, 3/4 of an inch. In this case, we'll use the feature, the cut extrude, and we're going to do this cut extrude properly. We're going to go through all. I'll accept that. Now to see the difference in the parametrics, Let's select the side face of this, and we're going to try dragging the width of this boss up a little bit because we want it to be a little bit thicker. When we zoom in here, we'll see that our cut no longer goes all the way through because we define that with a depth of 1/4 of an inch. But if we were to take this 1-inch boss and drag that up, I'm getting out of my area here, to 1.5 inches, that cut continues to completely go through our part. So our design intent's been captured with this cut, but with this cut it hasn't been captured because we simply used that blind cut and the depth is maintained the same. I trust that these few little tips have been helpful in realizing why we use the features and the tools that we use. I guess we should just simply modify the width of this boss to see that our relationship maintains the circle in the center of that boss at all times. So indeed, with centering this, we've captured our design intent. But with the depth of the hole, we have not captured our design intent. It's now time for you to go ahead and try and complete this exercise. I hope it was a help.